miles. The runners down at the post, and there's top weights, the almost white now, Better Times Ahead. Let's take a check with Errol on the latest betting.
Joint favourites at the moment. Will Chris opened up at evens, now showing 11 to 8. Better Times Ahead opened up at 7 to 4, down to 11 to 8. It's 11 to 2, supposing. Drifting is Garbo's Boy, but drifting more is Gems Lad, 9 to 1 out to 14 to 1.
So the runners at the post for this, what do you fancy? 5 runners lining up, the veterans, most of them.
Yeah, a lovely horse, Gordon Richards. Better Times Ahead. He's one of my favourites, and I was actually going to put him in my 2, but...
OK, well, in fact, Rod Street at Cartmel has already spoken to his jockey, Tony Dobbin.
Well, Tony, Better Times Ahead, 12 years old and top weight. Surely time's catching up with the old boy?
Well, it might look like that, but to be fair, the old horse is in great order at home. If he wasn't right, the boss wouldn't be running him, you know, and he really is. He's loving it at the minute.
And how do you feel he goes around this track?
He's won around here. Whenever if he's handy coming over them last 3, he loves. He's a real battler. He's one of the most genuine horses I've ever ridden, you know, and he stays real well. So if I can just keep him in touch coming around the last time, he'll have a big chance.
Now that last fence to the winning line, there's a big gap in between the 4 furlongs. Where do you like to be as a jockey on a running like that?
Well, it varies whatever horse you're riding. This horse in particular, he stays real well and he is so gutsy. I'll just try and be as handy as I can on him, you know. But like you say, it is a long way and it depends on what you're riding and how you ride it.
That's Tony Dobbin then. He's back on board. Better Times Ahead now. They're about to come into line. I'm off for a half-hour coffee break. Luke will be here with Mick after this race in Cartmel, which we enjoy with Ian Mackenzie.
Running for the Chas Kendall handicap chase. The trip here is 3 miles and a quarter, and that means 18 fences, and Better Times Ahead leads to the first of them. Possibly not for long though. Will Chris is a pretty dominant front runner in most of his races, and he comes to the first just a half a length behind with Gems Lad on the outside, and Will Chris jumped it so well that he took it up. Back in 4th place was Supposin, who got a little close, and then Garbo's Boy, and now Will Chris goes on into a clear lead of about 3 lengths. Will Chris then with Seamus Durack from Gems Lad, who's now taken second from Better Times Ahead, and then comes Supposin with Garbo's Boy as they make the run round towards the 4 fences down by the woodside. First one they come to will be the water jump, and it's Will Chris from Gems Lad, Better Times Ahead. Supposin, who's about 5 lengths behind Better Times Ahead, as Will Chris really pings that one. All jump it well. Now short runs between all of these, and Will Chris is at the 4th, again meets it on his stride. Gems Lad, Better Times Ahead, Supposin, who's jumping fractionally less well than the others, and Garbo's Boy. At the 3rd in this line, Will Chris spot on once more. Gems Lad, Better Times Ahead, Supposin, and Garbo's Boy, and now they're at the 6th. Will Chris, Gems Lad. There's a bit of a gap developed now, some half dozen lengths to Better Times Ahead. That one's about 4 clear, 4 or 5 from Supposin, another couple of lengths to Garbo's Boy. So between fences 6 and 7 they have this very long run, and there'd probably be some 15 lengths covering the 5 runners as Will Chris goes a little further clear of Gems Lad, who races second. Then comes Better Times Ahead, and after Better Times Ahead is Supposin, and then Garbo's Boy. Fence 7 a plain one, 8 is an open ditch. Will Chris by half a dozen lengths now. Gems Lad, Better Times Ahead, Supposin, and Garbo's Boy, as Will Chris goes down under the Priory and nears the next. Gems Lad, Better Times Ahead, Supposin, and Garbo's Boy. At the 7th of the 18 fences now. Will Chris been jumping particularly well so far. Gems Lad is second as they take the ditch, and then Better Times Ahead, and Supposin again not really jumping that well, and Garbo's Boy followed his example, and now Supposin Joe Ryan having to ride that one along and losing more touch with the others, and neither he nor Garbo's Boy are going particularly well at the moment as Will Chris leads towards the water. Coming on in front of Gems Lad and Better Times Ahead, 8 lengths away then Supposin, another 5 to Garbo's Boy, and again Will Chris very good at it. Second place for Gems Lad, then Better Times Ahead, Supposing and Garbo's Boy still 15 lengths behind the leader. And Supposing again is just not really attacking these fences, got too close to it. Will Chris, Gems Lad, Better Times Ahead. Supposing driven into it and jumped it better that time. Garbo's Boy is last as Will Chris goes over that from Gems Lad. Better Times Ahead is now being pushed along. Bit of birch went flying there from Garbo's Boy, but nothing really serious. So that was the 12th fence they've just jumped, and the leading trio are well out in front of Supposing and Garbo's Boy as they make the turn on the long gallop towards the 13th. Will Chris, Gems Lad and Tony Dobbin pushing along on Better Times Ahead, a dual course winner in his day, 14 wins to his credit. Will Chris, who has won 4 under rules, he also won 3 pointer points in Wales in the spring for Paul Riddick, his owner. Now Better Times Ahead comes through to head Will Chris, with Gems Lad right there on the outside and the other two continuing to toil. So Better Times Ahead is leading by half a length from Will Chris. 3 lengths away then races Gems Lad, and there's about 12 lengths to Supposing. Taking the next, Better Times Ahead and Will Chris, both jumping it well. A slight mistake there from Gems Lad, who hit that one at the open ditch, and Will Chris I think was probably just being given a breather because Better Times Ahead closed up so quickly, and Will Chris now goes on again by a neck from Better Times Ahead, with Gems Lad 8 lengths behind them and about 15 to Supposing, who's a length and a half clear of Garbo's Boy, who's wanted to be alone throughout the race. Coming down towards 4 from home, and as they do, the lead is held by Will Chris from Better Times Ahead, and Will Chris is at the water now with a lead of some 3 lengths, 4 lengths, jumps it really well. Will Chris by 4 from Better Times Ahead. 3 lengths away, Gems Lad tailed off Garbo's Boy. Supposing made a mistake. Will Chris jumped the 3rd from home, 6 to 8 lengths clear of Better Times Ahead. Comes down towards the 2nd last. Will Chris, and another lovely jump at it, so got 1 more to take. A terrible mistake there by Gems Lad, well sat Richard Wilkinson. Meanwhile Will Chris made just a slight fluff at the last, clear of Better Times Ahead. Gems Lad back in 3rd, Garbo's Boy is in 4th place, and Supposing jumps it last. So that was the final fence. Now we've got this massive run in, but what an intelligent race Seamus Durack has ridden here on Will Chris. He steadied it up, gave the horse a breather. He'd probably seen that Tony Dobbin had been pushing Better Times Ahead to get to the front, and Will Chris is galloping away with it just like he did last time out at Newton Abbot. Better Times Ahead though is the most genuine of horses. He's still trying to close the gap again as they come round the final turn, and Will Chris is under pressure in front, so Better Times Ahead is not going down without a fight. He's about only 2.5 lengths behind the leader. Will Chris from Better Times Ahead, a sterling finish as they race close home. Better Times Ahead is beginning to get up now, and Better Times Ahead has come to poach it close home from Will Chris. Back in 3rd place then was Gems Lad. Garbo's Boy was 4th. Supposing was last.
Well, Mick, are we going to say that was a good judge of pace, or did Will Chris tie up the running?
I think he got a bit tired close home, but nice to see the old horse win. 12 years old, carrying 11 stone 12. It just shows you that the horse still... I mean, they tried to retire this horse last year, but he was going berserk in his field up at Cumbria, and the owner persuaded the trainer to put it back in training, and he certainly relished and warranted that decision by winning his race today.
Yeah, it was certainly a marvellous...